Welcome to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharan Raghavan.
You always like talking about marketing than actually brands and the brand policies we talk about. Why aren't we talking about marketing today?
We are actually talking about marketing just in a roundabout way. We talk about various aspects of marketing. I just thought that for a change we should talk about marketeers.
Marketers, okay. But we did speak about how people can be better marketers, right? What's different in this?
So we spoke about competencies that marketeers possibly need to develop or aspiring marketeers need to work upon to pursue a successful career in marketing. I just thought that we can also talk about how can marketers increase their effectiveness on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, cool. So I'm sure you have a framework as you always do. So what is the framework today?
I don't have a framework. I just have abbreviation or something so that people can remember it. So therefore, I thought that for a marketer to become effective on a day-to-day basis, we should talk about 3 Fs.
3 Fs of a marketer.
Yes, 3 Fs for a marketer.
Sounds very titillating for me. So yeah, let's go.
Correct. Before somebody says WTF, let me get into it. So first one, which I think is quite obvious and most of the listeners would have possibly thought about it, is freshness.
Okay.
Right now, the core definition of marketing is that you want to work on creating some kind of a impact on consumers' life in a meaningful manner such that your brand moves in the positive direction. Right. So therefore, because you want to do that, you will be making some sort of a change, and hence marketers are usually change agents. They're changing something and changing the status quo and hopefully leaving it in a better place.
Right. So if the listeners have listened to the previous episodes, we've always said you become a better marketer with experience.
Yeah.
This seems almost contradictory to what that means. You're saying you want to be fresh always. How is this not contradictory?
No, so better marketer is all about saying that you when you're young, you sometimes practice through frameworks. As you go along, those frameworks become your second nature, and therefore you start making decisions intuitively by using that framework mentally. Right. That's how you become faster, better, more efficient, etc. But in this specific point of freshness, I was saying that as a marketer, because you want to challenge the status quo, you want to think about problems from different angles, etc. You want your mind to be fresh all the time. You want fresh ideas to be generated. People are sitting in a room and they're trying to solve a problem. The room would look towards a marketer to give them some sort of a deeper understanding or a different solution. Right. So you are supposed to be the source of fresh ideas, and hence freshness of ideas, freshness of thinking becomes almost a professional requirement for a marketer.
Okay. That's easier said than done, right? Because if I'm using the framework, I'm sitting in the same environment and I'm working on similar categories within a company. How do I maintain that freshness of thought?
For me, what works is having some sort of a hobby that kind of helps me indulge in something, makes my mind work through something else apart from what it is usually used for. It kind of keeps my thinking fresh. So therefore I sometimes write poetry. In fact, I get some of my better ideas or clearer ideas when I'm running.
You mentioned this before.
Yeah, because I kind of find it a very meditative state, and that is the time when I'm really not thinking about anything, and therefore when you focus on one specific thought, you tend to unravel that thought very quickly and with distinct amount of clarity, right?
Absolutely.
But the core of it is possibly because I force my mind to engage in something else apart from work. So I think pursuing a hobby, pursuing some kind of passion becomes quite critical. That is something that possibly people can do.
I've known you to have great agency relationships. Does that help in this freshness of thinking? Because they see a lot more businesses than we do.
That also. So what you're trying to do via reading about marketing is looking at, how different businesses are approaching a similar problem.
Right.
That is something that some of your agency partners also come to you with.
Right.
Because each one of them is working on brands in different sectors, targeting different consumers, or maybe targeting the same consumer with a different category. So therefore they will have some different, slightly more richer understanding of the same consumer, perhaps of the same need state also, and hence that also helps. Obviously, having them as part of the team helps significantly.
I couldn't agree more. But given all the creativity talk, I see that you've become very creative with the second one. You're force fitting another word for the second F, I see.
No, I'm not actually. So this is a word that I discovered when I joined Pidilite. Pidilite has this set of values which are, clubbed under this name called Pilglobin. So this is like
Global.
hemoglobin.
Okay.
Yeah, Pil is Pidilite India Limited,
Right.
Pidilite Industries Limited. Pilglobin is like hemoglobin that is supposed to run through the veins of every person who works at Pidilite. One of the interesting words that I found there, fairly simple, but very powerful, is Finitiative. Right? It's a combination of two words, finish plus initiative.
Okay.
It simply says that we need people who have bias for closure. Whatever initiative you take, small or big or large, we want people who have the bias to finish it. Too often, we spend a lot of energy kind of bringing an initiative to a stage where it is ready for execution, and then we leave it, or we run out of energy, or we run out of steam,
Right.
or we get busy with something else, right? And hence that is where most of the game is lost.
Right.
So therefore, for marketers, more importantly, it is quite easy for marketers to bask under the glory of frameworks that they thought through, new ideas that they came up with, new brand directions they put on the PPT, new insights they discovered from the consumers.
Right. That's the conviction side of things you're talking about.
Conviction side of things. All valid things to, glow about, bask about. No doubt about it. But all of those are as useful as the execution you get out of them.
Absolutely.
Right? If all of those are theoretical knowledge, which looks great in PPT, but you are not going to change anything on the brand side because of them, then I'm sorry, my friend, it won't really, move you or your organization forward.
No, it's very true, right? Because you spend so much energy in convincing your bosses about your conviction. And once you have the approval to go ahead, and you almost hand it over to your peers and your reportees, your teams, in almost exhaustion. And in following through on the execution is where the biggest trouble is.
Correct. And, I'm quite influenced by one of my ex-bosses, Molly, God bless his soul.
Our ex-bosses.
Yeah, our ex-bosses. So, in one of the conversations that I had with him at Pidilite, he said this, and I remember this line very well. He said that a bad strategy executed well is significantly better than a good strategy executed poorly. And hence, I'm making this appeal to all the young marketers or aspirants there, that whatever you do, regardless of however many frameworks or thinking that Sharan and I speak about, please retain your focus on closure, on finishing, and hence remember this word, finitiative.
That's a lovely word.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, I gave all of this background just to make sure you don't accuse me of making up this word.
If I came up, I was thinking of a cricket analogy here. Right? People take great pride in the perfect shot, the technique of the batsman and all.
Yeah.
But you see, often people with no technique doing better than them. And the reason is you need to hit the gaps. A well-timed shot to the fielder will still get you no runs or even get you out. But even a badly timed shot in the gap actually gets you more runs than a well-timed shot on most occasions. The placement becomes more important, and that's the equivalence of strategy with bad execution.
Correct. I completely agree. Lovely example, though.
Perfect. The next one is I'm curious about.
So next one is simple, So we spoke about Freshness. We spoke about Finitiative.
Right.
The third one is actually in support of the other two.
Okay.
Right. So this F is for fitness. A lot of the time, when we say fitness, a lot of us think fitness is about, how much you weigh, how much can you run, do you go to gym every day, do you work out every day, etc., etc. But this is slightly different kind of fitness that I'm talking about.
Okay.
Right. We just spoke about the fact that marketers spend an enormous amount of time and energy building conviction amongst themselves, convincing people around them, and convincing then higher ups, management, etc., to get approvals for the sort of change that they want to create in the brand trajectory. Now, all of that needs tremendous amount of energy. Yeah, mental energy. You want, number one, you need that alertness all the time so that you are absorbing very well, so that you are responding very well. Too often you don't get too many opportunities as a marketer to get that audience in the right room with the right kind of people.
Right.
And hence those meetings, those moments become very critical. And not only at the thinking stage, I've just only spoken about the thinking stage. Then you're going to the execution stage. Right. Where you are now not just thinking about the idea, now you're thinking, how do I execute it? How do you motivate your people, etc., etc. So there's a lot of thinking and, going back and forth, etc., that you need to do, which consumes a lot of energy.
Does this have to do with, I remember having a conversation with you sometime back about how you manage to be productive throughout the day. You spoke about what you eat also becomes important for a marketer.
Yeah. Excellent.
That's what you're going to.
Exactly. So the whole purpose was that, for a marketer, it becomes important that every meeting you have, every moment you're spending with somebody, you are very alert, you're very energetic, you're at your best during that time. And my belief, Sharan, is that it is all about, your ability to maintain your energy level through the day. Right. And maintaining your energy level, there's a lot of science behind it. I don't claim to be a specialist, but I can only share what I do for it. And somebody had advised me to, number one, drink a lot of water. That I think becomes very, very critical. All of us work in air-conditioned office, and air conditioners tend to suck out moisture. And so therefore you must feel thirsty or your body loses moisture. So it is very, very critical that you keep replenishing water in your body.
Right.
Number two, like you were pointing out earlier, I also eat every second hour. Every 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours, I eat something or the other. I carry fruits with me, dry fruits with me, something or the other. Now, I know that people smoke, drink tea, drink coffee. That's something that you'll do possibly once a day. But, you got to develop something which helps you run through the entire day with optimum energy. Right? So therefore, my push to all marketers will be, this is for all professionals, but specifically for marketers, that you should experiment with this. Find out areas, find out points and days when you're really sagging, and therefore what can you do to avoid it. But if you get into it, how can you mitigate it, how can you cure it, etc. I found some of my ways. I stretch, I drink water, I eat every 2-3 hours, and I just implore people to find their own ways. If you search online, you will find tremendous amount of research also around this. Some very basic things that I do is something that I put out in front, but I believe that fitness, this mental fitness, agility, alertness through the day becomes a very critical component for all marketers out there.
That's brilliant, Sudeep, because this is not something we often speak about. And this is not something anybody speaks about in the work context. It's more spoken of in the health context.
Yeah.
And the fact that you put it out from your personal experience adds a lot more value for people to go find their own solution to meet the end of being fit on the job. I think that's a brilliant point. So I like the 3 Fs of marketers. And it's about freshness, Finitiative, and fitness. And it's the beautiful part about it is that this doesn't just apply to marketers or just to your professional life, right?
Yeah.
It's also applicable to one's personal life as well as your professional life.
Thank you for listening to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharan Raghavan. Subscribe and learn more at cobcast.net. That's CoBBcast.net.